please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I want to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is talk about Jabba the Frogan. Since I've seen a picture of Jabba the Hutt with a hijab on, and then many tweets about Frogan, whatever your sodding name is, we're going to talk about you. We're definitely going to talk about you because of your recent interactions with that of Ethan Klein of the H3 channel or H3 podcast, because of that religious divide, and some rather interesting comments. Now, if you don't know who Frogan is, that person is the Hutt. We're going to call you the Hutt for the rest of this video. The Hutt has an exceptionally large head, made larger by the hijab. They are a mod for Hassan, and they suck. They're a terrible individual. They are genuinely a terrible individual, and it has long been believed that the reason that H3 and Hassan no longer get on with each other and stopped doing a podcast together was because of Hassan's militant followers. Frogan, the Hutt, is one of them. Do try to imagine my shock when the militant wing of your fanbase, your supporters, your moderators, make it impossible for any working relationship, because if you don't pass their purity test, you're not going to pass anyone's purity test. There's a lot of gatekeeping involved in this. Yes. I get to side with H3 without being in the wrong. This is interesting. What I thought I'd do is show you a few clips from YouTube, taken from various streams, showing you instances where Frogan the Hutt is an insufferable twerp and what others think of this insufferable twerp, and then go to the Twitters and show you how the Ethan Klein stuff went down. Because I will promise you this, if you pay attention to Hassan, you like or hate, I can't imagine there are many that like Hassan and also like the Hutt, because the Hutt is an insufferable person, and this whole situation is delicious.
Frogan crying for 30 minutes after Mystic asked why she got nominated Rising Star again. Made a self-deprecation. I have no respect for this person because they're a Hassan simp.
Yeah, Frogan's on here again. I feel like that doesn't make any sense.
OTK is nominated again for Org of the Year.
Well, technically what Mizkiv is saying makes sense. If she's on, you can only be a Rising Star for so long, right? You can't put it over. I'm assuming that's what he's referencing, right?
Why are you nominated again?
How are you a Rising Star twice?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That makes sense.
Right? That doesn't make any sense. You're either a star or you're not, you know what I mean? Like, what? Yes. I feel like this award should be like a falling star award, bro. That'd be so funny. I would clear.
Honestly.
Oh, she doesn't even understand his joke. His joke was about himself. She thinks it was about her.
Okay, it makes me really upset. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to cry, but it really does make me really upset.
Now, no offense to the Hutt in this instance, but if you didn't understand that, that tells everyone else the level you operate at. Then again, you're a Hassan simp, so we expect nothing less. We expect nothing less from somebody who is incapable of seeing beyond their nose, right? Perhaps even their own gravitational pull. It is entirely subjective. My view is, if you lack the ability to consider humour and what it means, chances are you can't multitask either. That is clip number 1. That aptly demonstrated the inability of the Hutt to understand. Comprehension. Again, something I expect from those that simp for Hassan. If you like Hassan, that's quite alright, but you're allowed to be wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Unhinged take on Ludwig's 10K donation. Doesn't this fall under Twitch's hate speech policy? What is this?
I find ultimately, like, if I were to do a charity thing where the charity thing relies on your donations, it should be something where, like, 95% of people feel good and are down for it. And, like, ultimately, regardless of what you think, that is not the situation here. So I personally donated 10K because I think it is worthwhile. And if you guys got some extra bread, I would recommend you donate. But I won't throw it on you, you know what I mean? No thanks.
Now, when it comes to donating money, I think it's noble that anyone can truly back what they say, put up their own money, donate it to where they believe the money should go, whether you support or not. When it comes to children's charities, I hold similar views when it comes to animal charities. I want to make sure the money goes to the right place, but I also fully back them. What do you think Frogan says? Sorry, the Hutt. The rising star, the two-time rising star. Two-time. Oh dear God.
Hey, I know Arabs are dying, but you know, I'm not gonna tell you to donate. Do whatever you want.
Yes, Ludwig was in the right then, because ultimately what you do with your money is your decision. You shouldn't be guilted or compelled to give up what is yours, especially during a time where inflation is causing more troubles for everyone else. If you have the disposable income to help, of course, if you want to help, you should. If you want to. If you don't want to, then, well, don't. It's not overly complicated, really, is it? You started that by saying something else. You did start that by saying it was a cracker-ass take, and I removed that because it had some music and I didn't want to get copyright struck. What else do you say in this clip?
Thinking about it, like, you think of the Twitch streamers that haven't said shit about Palestine.
So here's the thing, right? Is like, and this is another thing that I think is very annoying to a lot of people, is this girl is sitting here with a few hundred viewers trying to raise money for her rent, and then Ludwig donates $10,000 to the cause that she agrees with, and she calls him a cracker.
Where were you 7 months ago? The only Twitch streamers that actively talked about what was happening in October have been Hassan, me.
Okay.
Streamers that actually deserve to be talked, okay?
I'm often baffled by any streamer who will do somewhat contradictory things like grifting for emergency rent, having a go at others for donating to charity, but also appealing to authority as if their fallacy gives them a leg to stand on. Not that I believe you know how to use your legs. Now that is clip number 2. This introduces the inability to understand fallacy, but also a black-pilled mentality, whilst unironically begging for donations as a donation goal for rent. How grown up, right? On to clip number 3.
That makes sense. Two wrongs don't make a right. He was bad and trying to appeal to everyone and not take a real solid stance, but Frogan should have called him that. No, I don't give a shit about, like, someone being called a cracker, okay? As someone who is white and has, like, used that word myself, I think that people that are using that to be like, this is a racial slur against white people is, like, ridiculous. Like, I mean, dude.
This actually demonstrates the point that earlier made. There is a clear inability to perceive a wider point within this sphere of the streaming community. That being, in this instance, he hyper-focused on the word cracker, used as a racial slur against white people, because the person it came from is part Lebanese. Oh no, that means they're allowed to use racial slurs, right? Certain ones, anyway. No, let's ignore the fact Ludwig donated 10k of his own money rather than donating it to a stream, while getting racially abused by an intellectually stunted slug who was busy trying to get money to pay for their rent. Not focusing on where the money went though, which was also dubbed chump change. Okay, 10k donated, your rent goal is $1,000. Yet you called $10,000, Hut, you called it chump change. On to one more clip before we move to the more recent tweets concerning Frogan and Ethan Klein.
She doesn't care about peace, she just wants Twitter likes. Let's be real, you know what I mean? She just wants to know that the other lefties, they just care so much, but they don't, because they're doing the opposite of helping. Some of the shit I've seen, it's just dark, man. And that's all I have to say about that. You know what? I don't know. She probably does care about Palestine. You know what I mean? She does. But she does. Okay? But it takes more than that. If you actually want peace, it takes more than that. You have to care about all people. All civilians, kids. You have to care about all of them.
There is a recurring belief that those, when it comes to the subject of Palestine and Hamas and Israel, they are less interested in the civilian life and simply arguing for the group they want to win. The Hut, Frogan, typically gets lumped in with those that don't care about the civilian life at all. This is where I am usually opposed to many. I always care about the life, which is an ironic thing from somebody who often says no lives matter. But if you really think about it, to believe in no lives matter means you care about all life. The ending part is just a guarantee. But typically, there is an absolutist interpretation of equality and meritocratic as opposed to equity and inclusion. So now we should move over to the more recent interactions. This one might get me demonetized because we got to talk about Osama. I'm not going to finish that name because it'll get me into trouble, I think. YouTube are funny about certain people. I wish they weren't. It would make my life a lot easier. For a hot minute, Stardust has been quite angry with the likes of Frogan. They've made a video on Frogan, titled The Vile Ghastly Hassan Abi Mod, Frogan vs Ethan Klein from 3 months ago. 3 months ago, and this is all resurfaced. This is good. They tweeted, POV, you've been astroturfed to hell by your friends, but still barely break 100 viewers on a good night. Included a picture of the hut. Now I swear these are done on purpose, these kinds of pictures, to make the head look even bigger. There's a very sharp eyebrows though. Ethan Klein on his Instagram had posted, let me say, I give 0 Fs about Frogan's crocodile tears. She has inserted herself in the middle of my conversations many times and cries when I respond to her. She is an official representative of Hassan's community, and the pressure should be on her to behave better and not make this entire community look bad. I also blame Hassan for continually hand-waving her horrific behaviour to the point that it's essentially an endorsement, and F Osama in this life and the next. Frogan, I'm not pro-Osama. It is insane to make any legitimate political analysis from Ethan Klein. Casey Tron, who used to be funny. The way he consistently attacks and weaponizes his audience against you seems to be he does it because he's too afraid to attack Hassan. He has to attack someone with a quarter of his audience. Comrade Casey, Ethan Klein has never heard of historical analysis. Ethan Klein in his story again, Mao_wow. Do Americans really actually know why Bin Laden did all that, or do they all believe he hated that they can vote or something? Ethan included the comment, he quite literally hated Americans because they could vote and had freedoms. He specifically states in his writings the reasons: homosexuality, lack of Sharia law, drug use, lending of money, letting Jews run the country. Please read his writings before regurgitating tanky talking points and running defense for a mass unaliving homophobic anti-Semitic piece of poop. F Osama and anyone trying to rewrite history. This reminds me of those letters where people read them and thought, oh well, you know, he has a point. Like, it's not that he has a point, it's the fact you think he has a point. That's interesting. That really is interesting, because you're trying to humanize somebody who tried to take humanity out of it. Because what he wanted was a life of indentured servitude, which is what he would want for all peoples, that would tear others down. Now this was pointed out because of Casey's tweet, which by the way, they're protected now, so I had to archive the tweet. Yeah. Historical analysis is one thing, but as Willie Mack pointed out, this is pretty much what Bin Laden wrote. You can look it up. Like, you have to understand this. If you're unwilling to read, that's fine, but you should at least admit that before you go defense for the hut. Now, Stardust also said, the reason I'm going in on the hut so hard is because of the constant crying of victimhood from her and her group, then the absolute hypocrisy they practice. I also believe the hut holds anti-Semitic and racist beliefs. Like most people, she probably doesn't realize it. It is possible for her to correct that relatively quickly? Yes. Do I think she will? No. She has no self-awareness or want to even see that side of herself. And people believe in this case that Stardust is only doing this because they want attention from the likes of Destiny, who themselves have offered some opinions on the subject.
A smaller content creator than you. So when she makes fun of you, you get like maybe 5 comments that you see or 5 chat messages that you see when you're on your podcast. When you do this, every reply in her Twitter DMs is probably Islamophobic hate coming from your fan base. So when she makes fun of you, you are not receiving nearly the same level of harassment that she is receiving the other way around, because you have a significantly larger audience, which means you should be more responsible with your audience.
Ethan Klein's not on Twitter. He got banned ages ago for mocking Elon Musk. I remember that. I'm not going to justify what Ethan's audience do, but he's not justifying it either. Just to be clear here, you're crying foul because he has a bigger audience. That's a them problem, not a you problem the person Destiny is reacting to. And by the way, just because Frogan has said some horrible things doesn't mean Ethan has to take it, which is the main talkaway point from your drivel. And it is drivel. It has to be drivel for you to think for a second that just because you got more followers, you're not allowed to defend yourself. This is the level of intellect we deal with here. And it's why I hate responding to people in this sphere so much, because apparently a number of them watch my videos as well and get really uppity in my comments that I had the audacity to say something about it. Both Ethan and the Hut benefit from freedom of speech. Both do. Both also benefit from consequences, positive or negative. They both benefit from it because it draws more attention, drives more attention to what they are and what they do. If you don't like that, That again is a you problem. You inhabit a poisonous wing of the internet, you're gonna get slapped. Simple as that. If you don't like it and want to cry victim when it suits you, even though you've been proven wrong too many times, you are showing you are nothing more than a very, particular leaning grifter. A politically driven one who is less interested in the discussion and more interested in looking like you're good. Optics, but no substance.
Was it Katie who made the same argument? Yes, this is like the progressive minority victim complex or whatever. Basically, the argument is because you're a degenerate smaller content creator or because you're a degenerate black minority woman, whatever, you should be able to get away with any possible behavior you want, and you should always be beyond reproach. You can never be criticized for it because you're smaller and your brain is smaller and your genes are worse and your minority status is higher, so anything you do can easily be explained away by the fact that you're some inept, like agencyless, like